Hi, I'm VEERA Mahajan. We're reading again Unreported. Domestic Abuse is Unreported Crime. My book about domestic abuse awareness, and we will start on page 40 today. So we'll start with Abby's story. Remember Abby, the young woman in the first story? She was in college when she met her husband. He was her friend's brother. He was a landscape designer. Though he was not educated, he was handsome and charming, but he was very controlling even when they were dating, a red flag that Abby ignored. After she graduated from college, Abby started to look for work. Her then boyfriend ordered her not to look for a job out of town and said that if she did, he would not marry her. Abby ignored all the red flags and married him anyway. Like so many women, she was afraid she would never find anyone else. She believed she could change him and that he just needed someone to love him. She thought if he saw how much she loved him, he would never hurt her. Before they were even married, she caught him cheating on her. But again, she overlooked his behavior and thought that once they got married, he would never cheat on her. Sadly, she thought wrong. Things got worse after the wedding. He not only cheated on her, he forced her into sexual acts that were scary and embarrassing to her. She never said no, although she knew she should. Sometimes the brutality of the sexual acts was so bad that she had to virtually leave her body just to survive. She worried about dying and her parents finding her in these conditions, but she continued to forgive him. After 3 children and 15 years of marriage, her husband met his soulmate. He kicked Abby and the children out while he stayed at the home with his new girlfriend. Abby almost went mad. She became obsessed about him. While her husband was at her house with his girlfriend, Abby would sit outside in the car knowing they were having sex in her bed. She was losing control. Finally, she sought professional counseling. After his short-lived affair, he took Abby back and he promised to be a better husband. But we all know old habits die hard, and the abuse started again. When her children walked in on the rape, she knew that she could not accept this anymore. And that is when she left of her own accord and got a PPO, which is a personal protection order, against him, so he could never hurt her again. Sheila's story. Sheila's first marriage began when she was very young, overweight, and with zero self-esteem. She thought no one would want her. She married her co-worker's Spanish cousin who wanted to marry her and get his visa papers to stay in the USA. But Sheila fell in love with him. She could hardly believe she was married to so handsome a man, her dream man. Handsome as he was, he had no work ethics. He went from job to job making excuses and sometimes disappearing altogether. He would tell his employees that he had to take care of his sick wife. He would lie at the job and go to bars where he was spending all his money while Sheila worked overtime to pay the bills. As you can see, low self-esteem caused Sheila to get into a relationship for wrong reasons. It sounds familiar? You are not alone. People who don't have low self-esteem might be shaking their heads and asking themselves, why would she marry him? What those people don't understand is that if you have low self-esteem, you may marry the first person who asks you because you don't want to be alone and think you'll never do better. And that is where you are wrong. You can always do better than abuse. And being alone is far better than putting up with even the slightest form of abuse. Lauren's story. Lauren's boyfriend was a detective and an ex-Marine. He constantly showed his anger, mocking her and expecting her to have sex daily. He also wanted her to be with other men and women. She felt like a prisoner always watched. She asked herself, how could she love a man who wanted her to do all these horrible things? She contemplated leaving him a million times, but never had the courage to do it. For years, she wanted to leave, but she didn't know how to turn the doorknob and walk out. If you get involved with a bully, know that he's always going to be a bully, no matter how much you love him. When you are in a bad situation, you have to either change the situation or leave it. Letting someone hurt you is as bad as you hurting someone else. Many times men take the same kind of abuse at the hands of tough, abusive women. So, yeah, some men do become victims of abuse. So this book is not only about women being the victims. This is about anybody who's a victim who needs to get out, and for anybody who's a victim to know that that doesn't end on its own. They have to take charge and get out. So I hope some of the words here, the stories from Sheila and Abby, help you think about your situation and hopefully help you or someone else. And look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Bye for now.